We finally have a gigantic FAAB weekend to talk about in baseball. A lot of other stuff talked around the league. All coming up next on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Happy Sunday night, everybody. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. We are sponsored by Prize Picks. We appreciate the sponsorship by them for the podcast. It's Sunday night. I am Scott Jenstad, joined as always by Jeff Erickson. Jeff, I feel like we've been waiting for a big FAAB week for a while here. We finally got one. We will get there, but how is everything in your world?
Well, personal life, good. Baseball life, bad. Yeah, very bad.
I had on notes Arraez, but
not
a good weekend.
It goes way deeper than that. My main event team dropped from 1st to 7th in our league. We lost about 25 points in 1 week. Sledding was tough, my friend.
Pitching blowout, bad hitting, all combination of all the above.
Yes, I think we got 1 win for the week, maybe 1 save. Evan Phillips went on the IL today to kind of finish off the week in style. Our 1 win was got left with an injury. That's Nate Eovaldi. We had like 1 homer until Friday, I think.
Yeah.
It was just tough sledding out there. I've got all the stolen bases I need. Yay. But I need some power.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of people. It's funny. You and I were joking earlier. I was like, everybody's talking about needing power, but my pitching has not really gotten the memo that's easy to pitch and there's no power. Because they managed to give up a lot of runs somehow. But yeah, it's weird. I keep looking at weeks and teams. I'm like, oh, this team had 5 home runs a week. This team had 7. I'm used to 18, 16, 15, whatever it may be. It's been rough to find home runs. Unless you have Shohei Ohtani, it's been tough.
Yeah. And I famously said I was worried about his power early on because of the procedure he had.
I famously had a top 11, got the 11th pick and decided to pass on Ohtani because it was the 2-day period we thought he might go to jail or get arrested or get suspended or whatever it may be. So I didn't take him, but it's okay. I ended up with Trea Turner instead. So I'm sure
you're fine.
Yeah, no worries.
Man, ouch. Brutal.
Yeah. I picked the spot for a reason and got burned because the spot was not the same as it was a week before we got the spot. But what are you going to do? The A's, though, A's are playing well. I know our Reds are not, but our former team, the A's, playing some good ball. I don't think they're good, but they're playing pretty well right now. Are you a believer in this team being able to not be horrible?
I
know, high bar.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think they're still bad. They had a nice week, and good for them. I don't see how that pitching holds up. Yeah. But I mean, it is nice that the 8th and 9th innings are spoken for, though. I mean, there is some value in that, and
our second Mason are nasty on the back end.
I really missed the boat on Mason Miller. I did not get any of him, in part because of what their A's said and how they were going to use him. In part because I thought the A's were going to win 55 games or something like that again. And they still might, by the way, but they're way better now than I expected them to be. But so were the Pirates last year too. And then they kind of reverted to form eventually. But they swept the Pirates this year. They almost swept the Marlins, and good for them. They played well. The part I'm having a hard time understanding is where all this power is coming from in this stadium. Why is the ball jumping out of the Mount Davis and not anywhere else in baseball?
It is very strange. Maybe a factor of them facing some bad pitching and having some bad pitching. But yeah, the A's have the 3rd most home runs in baseball, behind the Orioles and the Dodgers, and the A's are 3rd. That seems impossible, considering none of their players were drafted at all early, and the one who was, Zach Geloff, is on the IL. So it's just it's wild. They have 44 home runs. It's crazy.
It's wild. It is really wild. But hey, good for your former A's.
Yeah. I would, and for the last season Oakland, for all the fans and people I know, I would like them to do semi-well and be interesting. I can't really root for them to do really well because I just can't stand the ownership, as we know. But yeah, the fans I know, people still go to the games. I know they're leaving. Everybody's very upset, but I'd still like to see them do okay and put on a good show for the fans this year.
Sure. And the funny thing too is it's you look at, they don't have that one guy that's just killing it either. You look at their roster, and they have a lot of guys that have chimed in here and there. It's not like they're carrying us in our fantasy leagues. certainly not. I'm sure some people are going to put in bids on, like, there's a league where I put a bid in on JJ Bleday, but like Ryan Noto was so bad he got sent down.
Yep.
Geloff's hurt. Tyler Nevin's hitting 302. Okay, that's great.
Yeah. And Rooker and Langoliers have 15 homers, but Langoliers hitting 186. But I guess Rooker's probably been the most of the value there.
But he's hitting 240. It's funny. He's just hitting for a lot of power.
He's at 256 now, right?
It's 240 going into today. I don't know.
Yeah, so he's at 256 now. He had a big day today.
Okay, so there you go. So
maybe, he was 2 for 3 today. He's at 256. Yeah.
Okay, so he missed a lot of time. So he's got 8 homers and only 8 at bats. That's pretty
70 at bats. He only has 13 runs scored, which is kind of crazy off 8 home runs.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of crazy. They got Brett Harris had the 2-homer game yesterday with the Rooker with the 3 homers in one game.
I'll admit I texted somebody before the game when they put the lineup out, like, who the hell is Brett Harris? And apparently he homered twice, so maybe I should know that.
Yeah. And subject of bids this weekend because of that. Anytime someone hits 2 homers and his name's not Nick Martini, you should at least look at him.
I think people looked at Nick Martini that day too,
and they should have a little bit because he was getting some playing time. But of course, like everybody else on our Reds, not hitting now.
It's funny. You do look at the AL West, and I know the A's are hanging in there. I again don't think they're good. I think the Astros will pass them in short order, but the Angels are 10 under 500. The Angels are 12 and 22. Mike Trout is done for a certain amount of time here. It's one of those things like maybe he hopes he comes back this year. I think that they're going to be so far behind. I don't think he'll really push to come back. But man, how bad could this Angel season get? It's been rough, and with the injuries and obviously Ohtani gone, it does not look to be getting any less rough.
Yeah. So I did have one Twitter question asked, like, does Trout come back this year? I think Jack was asking this, and it's a good question. I mean, honestly, you could see a scenario there where he is shut down. They're just not saying it yet, but I don't think so. I think it depends on the type of meniscus surgery, and that hasn't been revealed, right? Jack England, by the way, asked the question for us here on this, but I don't, so the implication is, do you drop him in a redraft league, non-keeper format? Do you drop Mike Trout?
I think I hold for now. With everything I've read, I think I hold for now, but I think he's kind of that, like, the one setback rule. Like, if you read one negative tweet or a bad, some kind of setback, or he had to get paused or something, then maybe you drop him. But I think that it's a May 5th. He already had 9 or 10 home runs. He was playing really well. He was running a little bit. Obviously that's not going to happen coming back from a knee injury. But the problem is we have a history here where he's had times where he didn't come back because the Angels weren't good, and he had that calf where, like, it felt like, it was going to be July, then August, then September. You're like, it's just like they were so bad that it didn't matter. Like, it's hard to see him coming back and pushing it for 6 weeks if the Angels are 30 games under 500, right?
If Scott,
when you're right. That's the thing, is that they're 10 games under now, and I mean they're in division with 3 teams that are very likely better than them in Houston, Seattle, and Texas. It's a lot of games there. Oh man, I don't know. I just do you push Trout if you're in last place? It doesn't matter.
I think that's a great question. I think the answer is pretty self-evident. He may push himself. That would be the only thing,
which is what I would think most guys do, except we do have some instances where he did not push himself. So that's the only reason I brought that up.
He may have been instructed not to, too.
Yeah, I think he will too. I think he probably knows that's out there. I think he'll try and come back also. But it's I'm holding for now, especially in a 15-teamer. I think even a 12-teamer too. I think the upside is just too much. But I'm kind of, like I said, kind of that one piece of news, and I might have to think about it.
Yeah, and you look, the remainder is a rough look too. Anthony Rendon on the IL again, where he belongs. Miguel Sano is on the IL after he got his chance to play. Brandon Drury has a 459 OPM.
I wanted to ask you about Brandon Drury. I have Brandon Drury in multiple main events, multiple leagues.
You still do, huh?
I still do. And one of those guys, like, he was first base and second base eligibility, and he just seemed like one of the safer guys out there. He had 25 home runs last year. I think he had 26 the year before, whatever it was. He had 26 and 28. So 28 and 26 last 2 years. But like dual eligibility, eligible corner and middle, really valuable in the, whatever that was. I can't remember, but 18th round, 19th round of a draft. He's been abysmal. He's been a little banged up, but he has 5 RBIs and 8 runs scored and 1 home run. Like, he has destroyed you every time you played him. And I know it's early, but we're May 5th. Like, it's ugly. I'm holding for now just because I like the eligibility. He's hitting 4th in this lineup, but this lineup's gonna be terrible. But I admit that today was the first day I thought about dropping him.
Understood. I don't have them, so I haven't had to make that decision. I have other schmoes that I've had to decide on. But it's tough. He's 31. He's had really 1.5 good years in the league, right? So, and the one good year was Great American Ballpark driven. So, I mean, he's not striking out a ton, but
he's striking out way less than last year.
Yeah, but the quality of the contact's just hideous.
Just off the cliff. It's terrible. He was 11% barrel last year. He's under 3% this year. His BABIP is 197. Like, that's probably going to fix stuff a little bit. You say a couple of 1.5 good years. Like, last year was pretty good too. He was 26.83 and hit 260 last year. Like, that's really workable at the price.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. I guess. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
For your middle or corner, if he hits 23 to 27 home runs, like, that works.
I just remember him slumping for a while last year too. At some point, maybe that just colored my brain on that one there. They got the Moniac at your door is hitting 159, 216, 261. Yep. And he's going to get more playing time now. Cole Tucker, Mr. Vanessa Hudgens, is now up. So, but he's 27. I mean, it's not like he's okay. Yes, we can't wait for this prospect. Willie Calhoun's on this roster. Kevin Pillar is on this roster.
Without looking, Jeff, how old is Willie Calhoun?
Oh, I'm looking. Sorry. I got
damn. What would you have guessed? I would have guessed like 32, 33.
He's 29 still.
29. I know he came up early, but like, I feel like he's been around the league so many times. I was shocked when I saw 20. Someone that said 29 earlier. I was like,
the answer may shock you.
Yeah. I looked it up. I was like, there's no way. And I'm like, he's actually 29.
Yeah.
Hey, Cole Tucker, 3 stolen bases in 5 games, though.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Zach Neto is, well, he's getting a little better, but had a homer this week. But yeah, you think that there might be some hope for him. Rengifo is actually playing well, hitting well, I should say.
The real issue here is Tyler Ward is going to be in this wasteland of like driving nobody in, nobody driving him in. I'm worried about that.
Oh, yeah, you and I both. I mean, see also worst week ever.
It's wild how a bunch of the guys on different teams can all have a bad week. They're horrible week at the exact same time. It's crazy how that works.
Yeah. Well, and just the effect of like, oh, you had Trout in front of you. Oh, how do you like Nolan Shanwell in front of you? How do you like that? The apples. That's about the same. Joe Adell is actually still cromulent. He's not striking out that much comparatively.
Had his 7th stolen base today.
Yeah. So he's got some things going on there.
Last question for you before we move on to some other stuff. The AL East has the Orioles and the Yankees at right at the top there. Those are the 2 best teams in the AL by a pretty decent margin. I know Cleveland's played really well, but end of the day, Orioles and Yankees are 2 best teams in the AL, you think?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I do. I was the dummy that said that Houston would go to the World Series at one point. So that, take my answer for the appropriate metric ton of salt that it deserves, but
they are far from done though. I mean, Seattle, nobody's running away with the AL West. Houston they'll make a run, right? They sure haven't looked like they have a spark and then make a run, but you have to think they will at some point.
Anytime now would be fine. But
as soon as Jose Abreu comes back from his Florida trip, I'm sure it'll be all good.
They're going to get Javier back soon.
Yep.
It's the pitching, and they Josh Hader gave it up again today.
Every time I look, I'm like, oh, he has a 6 ERA. I'm like, it's a reliever. It'll fix it. And every time he gives up a run, Hunter Brown was not good again today too.
Just walked another guy while we were talking about him.
Yeah, it's. I wonder if he needs to chill in AAA for maybe a month and figure stuff out.
That might happen when they get Javier back.
Yeah, I think it might too. We mentioned the Trea Turner note. It was weird. He had that play where it was a walk and the ball got away and he scored from second. You're like, that's a great play. And then all of a sudden he came out of the game. It didn't look like anything really bad. Obviously, you can't tell with a hamstring. But then his quote, he said 6 weeks would be I forget what he said. It wasn't a miracle, but it's something effective. Like that'd be really surprising. It was back in 6 weeks. Horrible quote there. That's a big loss. You lose your first round pick for 2 months. It's brutal.
Yeah, it is. It is, and that's segment 2 of worst week ever. My RotoWire online championship team that was in first place is now in like 5th.
You did not have a good week, did you?
Oh, I had a really, really bad, awful, no good, lousy week. On that's the league where I waited on pitching. Phil was pretty good about it. Shane Bieber, 2 great starts. Oh, I lost him. Okay, fine. Still in first place. Okay. Luis Robert lost him. Okay, fine. Lost Grayson Rodriguez this week. Lost Turner this week. Lost Geloff. I lost someone else that I lost Merrill Kelly, put on the 60-day IL just for added little heft.
Drop him?
Yes, I did drop him.
Yeah,
12 and a 12 for sure.
Yeah,
I lost Uriel Rodriguez, whatever. I was gonna lose him anyhow, but just because the Jays saw fit to give Alek Manoah another chance, and that was funny.
How did that worked out about as well as every single person thought it would?
Yeah, I mean, he had one good outing in AAA. Oh, he got 12 strikeouts. Let's give him another chance.
Yeah. Struck out the side in the first though, but
had like a 6-0 lead, and they lost 11-8.
It's I was kind of hoping he's gonna pitch well today, so people would bid on him, but that obviously did not happen. But we had some other big news today, though. Wyatt Langford, the high riser in drafts in March, out to the IL with a hamstring strain. Manager Bruce Bochy says he's expected to miss 3 or 4 weeks. I considered dropping him in my 12. I held him. What would you do in a 12-teamer? Obviously, a 15-teamer you got to hold. What would you do in a 12-teamer with Langford?
Oh, no IL spots.
Because not only is he hurt now in a month, but he has not done a thing.
We're still waiting for his first home run over a fence.
That is true.
This is like Jordan Walker 2.0. Unfortunately, it feels like minus the part about him playing out of position.
But then addition with a hamstring strain where, like, is he going to run the first month he's back? Like, I don't know. That affects stolen bases for sure, right?
It does. It does.
And that's a part of the value that you had with him.
I think it will be more than 3 to 4 weeks. I think there will be an extended rehab. Let's get his bat hot sort of assignment.
If there would have been someone in that 12 team that I really wanted, Langford would have been my drop. I kind of was like, there's nobody here that I really going to force the drop. So I held him.
Right.
But my thought is if I need the spot, it's somewhere I can go next week. If I hold him for 2 weeks, I'll probably hold him and see how the news goes. But I definitely considered it pretty strongly, and which is pretty wild where we were with him a month ago.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's something worth watching there for sure to see what happens. And the Rangers, I mean, they're getting by right now. And they get it. They get Nate Eovaldi going, and then he gets hurt. So now they got to call Jack Leiter up probably. We'll see about that. And hope that he pitches better the second time around. They figured out their closer at least. Kirby Yates has been awesome. So at least they've gotten that going for him.
Yeah. And I guess Scherzer missed his rehab start. Or something happened with his rehab start. It got pushed back. And then, DeGrom somewhere along the line. Like, they get reinforcement at some point, but, they're all kind of maybes too.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. So it's going to be it's going to be kind of interesting to see what the Rangers do here. I mean, I think they just try to ride it out. I mean, they've done a lot of buying already, so it's hard for them to kind of make a trade. Luis Arraez isn't walking in that door. So they'll have to look elsewhere. That would have been kind of a nice piece for them to add, but do they have the prospects for it there? The San Diego, I mean, it doesn't look like a huge haul, but they were,
it was a bulk haul though. Like they gave up 4 guys
last year. They gave up a relief pitcher that they were excited to sign just 3 months ago in Woo-Suk Go.
Yeah.
Go's been struggling, so I get it, but it's kind of no pun intended, kind of sucks for him because he wanted to sign with San Diego. Yep. He's in the minors, and now he's been traded to this crappy franchise, the Marlins. I mean, sorry. And I was asked on Twitter earlier this week to lay off the Marlins because they swept the glue-eating Rockies. And I said I would, but then they did this weekend, and it's kind of like, how can I not rip? I mean, they gave up on the season before it started, and then they really gave up on the season.
Although if you're done and you can get 5 months of value from Arraez, I guess you do it. But they gave up.
They're paying his salary this year too, but then he's got one more year of arbitration that the Padres will have to deal with next year. But still, Arraez, one more thing, he could win batting titles for 3 different teams in 3 different years.
That is pretty wild. That's a crazy stat.
Yeah.
And he had 4 hits his first game with the Padres. I do have Arraez in the main event, so I actually really liked it. I think that if he hits leadoff for that team, like, give me that all day. I wonder, if he might get a few more days off than he would in Miami, but I think it'd be worth it for the counting stats there. I mentioned Scherzer. He has soreness in his right thumb, is what he had from. That's why he's a holding pattern on his rehab work. He had 52 pitches his first rehab start, but he has thumb soreness afterwards. So I did make sure I got that right. We had another one on the IL this morning, kind of out of nowhere. Evan Phillips, Dodgers closer, who's been awesome as he always is. I mean, I think that if you want to go back 2-3 years, you could probably work it out that he's been the best closer in baseball, best reliever in baseball. Great ERA, had a bunch of saves. Obviously, pitches for the best team in the league at the moment. They just swept the Braves. But on the IL with a hamstring strain, do you think Daniel Hudson closes? Do you think there's somebody else? Do you think we mix and match here? What do you think happens with the Dodgers in the ninth inning here for the next couple of weeks?
Quotes were kind of vague. They got Blake Treinen back, but Hudson's been the guy or the guy in waiting. He's had his own injuries over time, over the last couple of years too, but Hudson's been good. He's been the reliever that they can count on this year. So I think he gets most of the cracks. It's so funny that when the Phillips injury came out of the blue, I got a text when I was doing the XM show this morning with Zola. Shu texted me. He's like, unbelievable, with Phillips. Like, it really is unbelievable when you think
it was so out of nowhere too that I looked at it again because I was, is it a different Phillips? Like, because I just saw like a retweet of it or something. I'm like, that must be a different, and I was like, oh, there it is. And then all the news kept getting there.
Yeah. By the way, I see a quote from Uncle Ted. I'm going to push back once, Ted. I disagree with you here. There's no way in fresh hell the A's are going to trade Mason Miller. No way. He's in year 2. There's no financial reason for them to trade him. There's no way they trade him.
I don't think they'll trade him either. You could make an argument that if you think he's getting hurt, like maybe makes sense to sell high on him. But I think they just want him there for a while. I think they're going to go wherever they go, and they're going to. I mean, he's the one really exciting thing they have. People like actually tune in when he gets saves. I don't think they trade him either.
Well, unless they just like some desperate contender comes calling and offers an A+ prospect, which, I mean, the Rockies aren't contending, so they're not. The Pace Eaters themselves are not going to make such a stupid trade,
and no one's going to do that for a relief pitcher who is a pitch away from being hurt, which has been his whole career. So. Right. It's been awesome so far, but I don't think they trade him either, unless it's like it'd have to be a full Godfather offer.
How many dumb teams are really out there?
There's the Rockies. That are contenders, not many.
There's the Rockies.
Not contenders.
I'm trying to. I don't think the Marlins are dumb. I just think that they're cynical.
Not contenders.
Yeah, well, and that's just the point. You automatically go towards the non-contending terrible.
Could I'm trying to think who could do that. There's not the Cubs need a closer, but I don't think they would do that. I don't think they're giving up the farm. I don't think so either.
Although they did famously give up Gleyber Torres for Aroldis Chapman. So I mean, it could happen.
That maybe that trade worked out when you watch Gleyber Torres play in 2024.
Oh, he's been bad.
He's been bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Clay Holmes is great, right? So they're not going to be looking for another closer right now.
No, it wouldn't be Clay Holmes doesn't get up a run yet, right?
Yeah, Clay Holmes has 11 saves too. He's very good at baseball.
A couple other IL notes before we do jump into FAAB. Esteven Kwan, it's not official, but it sounds like he's headed to the IL with hamstring tightness. Kyle Manzardo would be the call-up, is all the rumors, and doesn't look like it's officially been transacted. Maybe they do it tomorrow, but that would still be the move there.
It was confirmed that they're doing that, though. Unfortunately, and there were leagues where he was drafted and dropped. Manzardo was. So, not my leagues, but there were leagues.
There were. So here will be Manzardo will be a big ad in NFBC leagues next week. It's a big ad in other kind of leagues this week. And obviously, you can mention there were some drafted and drop spots where he was picked up. Joe Musgrove obviously is not right. His ERA is over 6 or whatever it is. 15-day IL with right elbow inflammation. That kind of felt like it was kind of been coming for a while.
Yeah, it sure what has been. And, Musgrove actually had a good outing against our Reds. But then again, I think there's a lot of people that have good outings against the Reds. Cole Irvin threw a shutout the other day. So, I mean, not
he
just
feels like he
Cole
throws
Irvin,
shutout against everybody right now. Cole Irvin's got 4 shutouts in a row, doesn't he? Something like that.
But the Reds have been shut out 4 times too.
Yeah.
And they're in a real bad way right now. We kind of hinted at that, but it's tough.
Musgrove is at 6.37 ERA, 1.51 WHIP, and 11% barrel rate. He is just getting smoked right now.
Yeah. And a lot of that was early, but then some of it was late too. I think there was a Philly start, which will always boost your ratio.
He gave up 7 earned and 3 2/3 2 starts ago, but the other ones around that were good. But it's been rough overall. He had 9 strikeouts his last outing, which was his biggest strikeout number. But you could tell something. He was not the Joe Musgrove that we are used to. Last note, the George Kirby thing is weird. He had an MRI in his knee on Saturday. Scott Service said, I'm not going to give you results of the MRI, but then said
what a jerk.
So they're going to manage it, and he shouldn't miss a start. Like it was like, if it's fine, then give the results. If it's not, like why you managing it? The whole thing was weird. Sounds like he's going to pitch this week, but if you do have George Kirby, I mean, obviously he's a big part of your team. He's been really good since that first couple starts. But it's weird. It sounds like he won't miss a start, but I was definitely one to monitor for sure.
Yeah, it is. And it's pretty cagey of him to Service to handle this. It's not this is not like playoffs here where, we got to make sure that, they don't know who they're preparing for. Come on. Let's stop with this nonsense there. It's, the Twins have lost a game, so it's okay. You can tell them who's going to be pitching against them.
Yeah, it was very weird. I don't think I've ever seen anybody like flat out say I'm not giving you the result. It was very odd, but yeah. So that's kind of the big injury notes I wanted to hit real quick, but I do want to get to FAAB. So let's jump over there. There were a lot of big moves this week, but first, a note from our sponsors at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best way to get action on sports in more than 30 states across the country. Prize Picks is really simple to play. I can make my picks and submit my entry in less than 60 seconds. You pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. It's fun this time of year with Prize Picks. We got NBA playoffs, we got NHL playoffs, we got Major League Baseball going on. A lot of stuff for you to play Prize Picks on. They have stuff every night in every sport. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and enormous selection of players and stat types are what makes Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app. Download the app today and use code ROTOPOD for a first deposit match up to $100. That's promo code ROTOPOD for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's just that easy with Prize Picks. Jeff, starting pitching, I'm going to start with there just because that was the big name this week. Christian Scott was called up by the Mets, made his first start, looked really, really good, was available in many main events, most 12-teamers. There were some people that picked up Christian Scott the first period when you could still pick up rookies. There were some ads there, but for the most part, he was available in a lot of leagues. How aggressive were you guys with him? I feel like a lot of teams needed pitching. There's a lot of pitchers on the IL. A lot of pitchers have been struggling. This is a week where everybody could use a pitcher. He was a big name guy. Looked really good his first start. What'd you guys do with Christian Scott this weekend?
It's a perfect setup to illustrate my failure for the week. I knew the answer, but it was not my intention. No, I know. But we bid 303 in the main event. That was good enough for second place. 346 was the winning bid, and I know it's not even close to the highest bid out there in all the main event leagues. But wait, I missed him in all my onlines. I missed him in yogurt. I missed him in scarf. I missed him everywhere. Yogurt, that might have been one of those. This was a busy FAAB period because I had XFL as well tonight. And so I kind of got squeezed on yogurt. That was the one where he's most affordable. So I have some regrets there. The other ones, I put in a good hearty effort, and good hearty effort wasn't enough.
Yeah, I looked at the Christian Scott bids through the main event. Our friend Gene McCaffrey was the high bidder at 677 on him in a league, and
wow.
The low was the lowest team name I don't recognize, but 197. I saw John Posma got him on the bottom half of bids for on the low 300s a couple times, but he only went under 300 in 6 leagues. So it was a 300 or more in almost every league. He was picked up. I could probably see the exact number here, but he's picked up in a lot of leagues. I'll look at the exact numbers. We're going back here, but he was picked up in 33 of the main event. So that's how many he was not. He was available.
Posted that in our forum.
Oh, there you go.
To us too. Average 364, high 677, low 197. How good do you have to feel if you're the winner of the 197 in a league? I mean,
that's a good feeling. The backup bid in that was 189 too. So not only you got him low, but you got him at like the exact perfect bid too, which is really nice.
Yeah.
But it's funny. You look at all the backup bids, like most of these were won by like a 300 to another 300 or 300 to a high 200s. There was not a lot of winning at 300s, and the backup was 55. The lowest backup was 189 on him. So he was across the board the biggest pickup we've had so far yet this year. What do you think about him as a player? Do you think he's up here to stay? Like, as the Mets get some guys back, is there any way that he goes back down? Or are we just sticking it? Is Scott here? He's here to stay.
I mean, my guess is he's here to stay.
Yeah, I mean, he's 24. Like, I think he's here to stay too.
It's not like it was a struggling prospect that may or may not be ready. Compare that to Jack Leiter, who has had portions of good seasons, but hasn't quite put it all together like Scott has. And I think there's a pretty, definite difference there too. You look at, is Tyler Megill going to knock him out of the rotation? No. When Kodai Senga comes back, that might be a thing there. Senga faced live hitters in a batting practice session yesterday. So
but even then you've got Severino, Manaya, Quintana, Senga, and then Scott or Jose Buto. I mean, like, there's no way they're pushing him out for. He's not pushing him out for Adrian Hauser, David Peterson, and he shouldn't be for Quintana even. So I have to think he sticks unless at some point they're going to want to probably innings cap on him. What did he throw? He threw like 95 innings last year, 97, something like that in the minors. So there's probably going to be a innings cap at some point, I would think.
I think so. I think that's possible, but not anytime soon. Okay. I don't think this is it's not like he's coming in with a pre-existing injury. He did pitch as a reliever in the minor in college. So that might be the thing that holds him back a little bit, but he still threw 87 innings last year. That's more innings than Mason Miller threw but in 2023, in 2022, before he gained call up by the A's, more innings than Bobby Miller threw. So just as a couple of reference points there. Yeah.
And he's been awesome in the minors this year too. 38% strikeout rate, 0.71 WHIP in AAA in his 5 starts. Like it was time. He was dominating there, and he looked really good in his first start.
Yep. Jackson Job's is hurt right now. It's not an arm injury at least, but he's not getting the call anytime soon. Cade Horton's got a 150 WHIP. Andrew Painter hasn't. I'm just looking at James Anderson's prospect list, and
it's a really good point because, like, if you're going to spend it, this is the guy to spend it on. Because unlike last year, there's not another one coming next week.
Smith Shawver is the guy to watch a little bit. He's hitting 99, but the results need to follow, and the innings need to follow. Houston Waldrop's in Double-A. I mean, it wouldn't be beyond the Braves to go promote straight from Double-A, but it seems unlikely. And you keep going down the list of like pitching prospects. There's not too many that are knocking on the door. Will Warren might be, but who gets knocked out? Mizorowski in Milwaukee might be another guy to keep an eye on long term. But that's kind of the point. Is that's who we're digging for. And like
he was a clear like stud prospect with a job, and we just don't have many of those. We haven't had very few of those as pitchers so far this year.
Yeah.
The other one was Jared Jones, and he got drafted everywhere. So it was like we kind of knew by the end of draft season he was going to get in there. And he's been awesome, but he wasn't a FAAB guy either.
Yeah, that's right. That's
so the question is, and there was a question in the chat, do you advise starting Christian Scott this week? They do face the Braves, who just got swept by the Dodgers. If I spend $300 on a pitcher and I liked how he looked the first start, I am definitely throwing him this week, no matter who he's facing.
Yeah. I am. And the Braves aren't on fire right now either. No. They're missing a couple of key bats, and at least one key bat, I should say, Sean Murphy, although, obviously d'Arnaud's had his moments, but they're not firing away, and it's not in Atlanta. It's in New York. So, yes.
Not unanimous. Our friend Paul Spohr, who's very good at pitcher, said he would pass on using Scott this week. So there is I guess, again, depends who you're playing him for.
Well, that's in a
15-teamer, I very rarely would have a better option than that. I'm gonna use him.
So, yeah, for instance, we somehow haven't been able to cut Simeon Woods Richardson. So he's got 2 starts this week, Seattle and at Toronto. Maybe.
I'm using it.
Yeah. You're using Simeon Woods Richardson, or you're using Scott? Are you saying?
Oh, I think you meant in general. I'm using both of them as my answer to you, but I'd probably throw Scott first.
I'm just trying to find an either or. I'm sitting Chris Bassett this week, though. At Philly, I want no part of that. It's only
one start. I'd sit that too. Yeah.
Yeah, but then I have to figure out my alternative. The alternative might be a 2-step Miles Michaelis, but
Matson at Milwaukee. Yeah,
I mean, it's not if he's going to be on your roster, you should probably be using him. But
if he's on your roster, you probably should use that 2-step. And if he sucks, you drop him next week.
Yeah, and if he dies, he dies. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What about other pitchers? I know Christian Scott was obviously the exciting, fun guy this week. What else did you do? We talked a little bit last week about John Means. He was available in some leagues where he's drafted and dropped, and some he wasn't. He was 68% rostered in the main event, much lower in the 12-teamers. He looked really good in his first start. He threw deep into the game. He threw 7 innings at Cincinnati. I know the Reds are struggling. 3 hits, but no walks, 8 strikeouts. Means looked really good. And, earns another start this week. I think he's going to be in the rotation as long as he's healthy. He faces Arizona this week. He would have been my number 2 in leagues where he was available.
And he was for me. But I before I say anything else, I need to issue a mea culpa because I said pick up John Means, but don't use him this week at Cincinnati, and that was a terrifically bad, no good, awful idea because Cincinnati is not hitting its way out of a wet paper bag right now, which I may have mentioned before.
Although if you picked him up last week, you would be happy about that because you got him for a lesser price than it would have been this week.
True.
Yeah.
True.
I added him for 36 last week. And he went in one of my mains. The other one he went this week. He went for over $100. So it was definitely a tax for the one really good start.
For sure. And the thing is, he was slow to recover from TGS, and he looks like the guy, at least in this start, he looks like the guy that pre-injury, who was really a good pitcher at one point in time.
Yeah, no, I agree. He was really good. He's in a really good park on a really good team.
Yeah. Yep.
So I like it. A guy we had mentioned is still available in a lot of 12-teamers, Ben Lively, with another good start this week. He's only 17% roster of the 12-teamers. I picked him up last week in the main event. I think he's an add in 12-teamers. I mean, he's just pitching really well. Pitched again well this week against the Angels. 6 innings, 4 hits, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. A couple too many walks there, but that's 4 straight effective starts. He's only given up 5 earned runs total in his 4 starts.
It's just so like the Reds for him to be good when he goes elsewhere. But
yeah,
Reds weren't the first team to try and fail with Lively. In fact, he even went over to Korea. So, I mean, of course, it's Cleveland that finds a way to unlock him.
And it's a little more than smoke and mirrors to him. He's got 28.5% strikeout rate versus a 7% walk rate. Like, those are really good numbers right there so far.
Yeah, they are. They really are. And it's why Cleveland keeps on winning, even though I fully expect them to come back down to earth, but it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, they get a lot of games in the Central where maybe it may not fully come back down to earth. But another guy coming back from injury who I thought was really interesting this week, someone that we really liked in the preseason, then he got hurt. We're kind of like, all right, we got to veer away from this. But Taj Bradley is on the way back. Has had his last rehab start was really good. I think his first one was really good too. He was only 40% roster in the 12-teamers. How do you feel about Bradley coming back? Should be maybe not next week, but the week after.
Yeah. I think it's a reasonable, is a reasonable play if you're allowed to bid on him this week. But, you may definitely think about that. And I think next week still too. We've tentatively got him returning a week from Friday at Toronto. Sounds kind of scary, but as Fred was pointing out, maybe it's not scary right now. The Toronto's offense, especially, they had a horrible homestand. I mean, their bats got little alive this weekend in Washington, but that's against Washington's pitching. They are struggling at home, so maybe even not that bad of a start. We'll see. Ryan Pepio got hit by a comebacker today too. Something to watch for. Bradley could get pushed up a little bit, even possibly.
Yeah, that's a good point there. You mentioned the Toronto offense. Bo Bichette's hitting 202 with 1 home run through 129 plate appearances. Kind of crazy. He was someone that was moving up in drafts. He was getting to that 3rd round, but 2% barrel rate. It's been pretty ugly so far.
It has. It really has. And yeah, Vlad hit a big one today, but on the road, I kind of wonder if the sightline thing is a real thing there in Toronto.
It sure seems like it. And whatever they did to change it, it sure seems like it made a massive difference towards less offense.
Yeah, definitely.
What about some of the 2-start pitchers that are available this week? Patrick Sandoval in Anaheim is available. He's at Pittsburgh, which you like, and then home against Kansas City. Kansas City's actually been pretty good. They have a really good run differential, actually. Colin Ray in Milwaukee is available. He's at Kansas City, home against St. Louis. I wasn't really interested in Ray, but I thought Sandoval was mildly interesting. He's got a 26% strikeout rate so far this year, has bumped that up from last year and from 2022. I know the results haven't been great as of yet, but 396 BABIP, he's been pretty unlucky. 58% strand rate, unlucky there too. Getting a lot of ground balls, a lot of strikeouts. I think that Sandoval's kind of a little BABIPing away here from being pretty interesting.
Well, when BABIP is going to be higher for ground ball pitchers, right?
Yep.
So I think that's part of it.
But he's also career 304. He's at 396 right now. So I think that settles somewhere lower than where he's at now.
I think he's run a little unlucky in BABIP, but a little lucky in home run rate. 6.7% home run to fly ball rate. The Ks are the interesting part.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the walks haven't gone down. Still 11%
not.
walk rate. I wasn't interested. I could be wrong about this. I talked Shu out of even adding him to our waterfall. I need to see more. But I mean, maybe it's because he was on our watch last year. I just didn't want to deal with him again.
Yeah, there was 2 years ago where he was really hyped and I really liked him, and it did not go well. I was outbid on him. I didn't have a lot of bid. I had like kind of low teens on him, and I got outbid. I would have liked it to grab him, and I would have used him this week. I think it'll be a good week for him, but obviously
Sure.
I'm in the teens, so I'm not all that excited about it. But I thought he was a usable option this week.
He is. Just realize you're going to get very little run support too, probably.
That is a very true statement. A couple other guys, Hayden Wesneski in Chicago pitched really well for the Cubs, and he's getting another start kind of as a result of pitching so well. Kind of looks like taking Ben Brown's spot in that rotation. So Justin Steele comes back. We thought maybe Wesneski would go to the pen, but it looks like it's going to be Ben Brown not starting. Wesneski is starting Wednesday against the Padres, although the issue with him is you get this one start, you look at the next week, you're like, oh, he gets 2 starts. Kyle Hendricks might be back then. And that starts at Atlanta, which I know we said we start Christian Scott with, but Wesneski's a little more fringy than that. But I thought he was an interesting ad for the one game against San Diego, although it's not a matchup you really want to attack too hard.
Yeah, especially now that they added Arraez, added some contact. But yes, I was in on Wesneski. He's this week's candidate for the Spencer Turnbull Award for. I can't believe they're thinking about taking him out of the rotation.
I still can't. I mean, I guess Taiwan Walker pitched pretty well tonight, but Turnbull's been really good. I know they're trying to manage his innings and all that, but man, seems tough that he lost his spot.
Yeah, you realize though who the Cubs are thinking about taking him out for? Kyle Hendricks.
Yeah, I know. I think I wouldn't take anybody out for Kyle Hendricks right now, and he has one more rehab start apparently. I thought it was kind of a fake injury, but apparently not. But yeah, there's if you slot Hendricks back in, it would be for Wesneski the next week.
Yeah. And hey, Wesneski could be fine. And if he only gets this start, he misses at Atlanta. I mean, maybe Hendricks is the sacrificial lamb. What could possibly go wrong? Kyle Hendricks in Atlanta. If anybody remembers, he had one of the all-time baddies there, like either last year or 2022 or somewhere in recent memory. He just got destroyed at Atlanta. It was at least 2 years ago, I think, but he had a really, really, really bad one at Atlanta. And, this lineup's still loaded. So yeah, that's the difference between Christian Scott though, too. It's Christian Scott's in New York versus, in Atlanta is another level to that puzzle.
Yeah, that's a look. I was trying to find the starter. I found one bad one against Atlanta, but not an all-timer. I'm sure it's
maybe it was during the COVID year. It was like back when Kyle Hendricks was still startable, theoretically startable.
Oh no, I found 11 hits in 3 innings and 7 earned runs. There's a bunch of them. Oh my gosh, and then 4 innings, 7 earned runs against Atlanta. That's twice in 3 starts in April of 2021. Wow, they've smoked him a lot of times.
Yeah. I did. I think I had a couple of those on my watch. That's why I remember them so well.
Wow, back to back. That's brutal right there.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to love Kyle Hendricks.
His start before Atlanta. His start versus Atlanta before that was in 2019. He gave up 7 runs in 4 1/3, 2 and 10 hits. He has just gotten killed by Atlanta his whole career.
Yeah. I think maybe they thought he was related to General Grant or something. I don't know.
Oh, jeez. All right. That's a reference right there.
Yeah.
Any other pitchers you like this week? Ryan Nelson came back from Arizona from the IL. We mentioned Cole Irvin before. What'd you do? Did you pick up Jack Leiter? Was kind of the one guy I wanted to get your thoughts on. Might face the A's this week. They've played 4 games in 3 days against Oakland. The first half of this week, there's a doubleheader in there. And Nate, you mentioned earlier, Nate Eovaldi went in the IL. I looked at Texas official probables. They got Heaney on Monday, Lorenzen on Wednesday, and a TBD for the second Wednesday game and the Tuesday game. I have to think Leiter fills one of those.
Yeah, I think so too. We've got him listed for Tuesday on the RotoWire starting pitcher grid. It's not confirmed, obviously. I did not bid on Leiter against the red hot swinging A's. Now, honestly, the opponent didn't scare me, but at the same time, Leiter kind of scares me still. I think there's high strikeout upside with him, but it's just so much risk.
Yeah, I mean, that first start obviously went pretty sideways pretty quickly. If I had him, I'd use. And they said he's going to pitch. I'd throw him for one against the A's for sure, though.
He gave up 2 homers in his last start. They were both solo bombs, but just enough to scare me there. The walks have been there in the past. It could work out. I could regret it, but I did not do it.
It was just tough because it's hard because we're gonna have to know. You have to hope they announce it before the game starts tomorrow because you want to be able to use it. You obviously don't want to use a 0, but yeah, that was. I thought it was an interesting one though because there was a lot of leagues where he was either dropped or never added because he went back down. Where he was kind of available to slide through fairly cheaply this week.
Yeah, he was, and that's always good to remember. These type of guys is the second time around will often be better.
Yeah,
sometimes it's the third time around too. Though
I had him in my waterfall, I could say this time, but
yes.
I did not get down to him. What about relievers? I think we kind of talked already about Evan Phillips going the aisle. There was some Daniel Hudson bids in there. I know you got Daniel Hudson in a spot.
A lot of spots, Scott.
Was that because you had Evan Phillips, or you think you just think that getting 2 weeks or 2 to 3 weeks of a Dodger closer just is worth that much? Because
is it 2 weeks? Is it 4? I don't know.
Yep.
For starters,
were you more aggressive where you had him? I assume though.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Okay.
But I picked him
because
up
in case it's 4, you want that coverage if you don't have him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. I got him in main event. I got Daniel Hudson in beat Jeff Erickson 35 to 33. So
what was his main event price win for you?
We were more aggressive there because we're kind of desperate. 89 to 47.
Oh, 40. I mean, that's not that big of a gap to back up. He was he went for 39 and 36 in my 2 mains.
Yeah, and that would have been an ideal price. 57 to 33 in Scarf. So I tried to add him in a lot of places. I think he's, Trinan could fit into this picture, but Trinan hasn't pitched in a major league game yet this year. I mean,
I wasn't worried about
Trinan.
I was more worried about Dave Roberts mixing and matching more than Trinan. But I mean, Hudson has been got 25% K minus walk so far, a whip under 1. A couple of home runs has kind of been his only problem, but I like what I've seen so far from Hudson. I think he's just going to be good. So that's key. And then, if he throws some 8 innings in some high leverage spots at some point, like I can live with that. But he gets, if he gets 2/3 of the Dodgers saves while he's there, that's really valuable.
Yeah, it is. It really is. So yeah, I was definitely in on Hudson.
Did you do anything with the Detroit situation? Jason Foley, who's been really good so far, has been a little bit rough the last couple of weeks. Did you have any interest in Alex Lange, Andrew Chafin? Did you just kind of stay away here? What do you think happens in Detroit? Do you think Foley's leash has gotten very short or maybe a little shorter? What do you think about that?
I think it's gotten a little shorter, but I'm not quite sure. And the Tigers have messed around with this a little bit before. Kind of have a Scott Service Jr. situation going on here.
Yeah, and I just didn't know, like, would they really give it to Alex Lange? Would Shelby Miller factor in? They like to use Chafin in leverage spots too. And I know that, Alex Lange has been really good so far this year, but then every time I see the ERA and the whip, I see the 17% walk rate. And I'm just like, I just don't want to mess with it. We talked about before, I hate closers who walk that many guys, and 70% is just not sustainable at all. And he was 15% last year. So it's not like it's a weird fluke. Like, he just can't throw strikes.
Yeah, and that did kind of keep me away. As mentioned in the comments, for those who are streaming live with us, Shelby Miller spit the bid on a save chance in the doubleheader game, where they brought in Foley for a fireman situation, and he did get out of it. But then they had Miller pitch the 9th, and he gave it up.
Yeah, I just don't think there's a clear. I think it's still. I would say the next op is still Foley, but there's a little bit of at least gotten shorter. I probably just agree with you there. And also, just a last closer note, if Trevor Megill is still available in the league, he was available in 43% of the RotoWire Online Championship 12-teamers. Abner Uribe got sent down. Trevor Megill seems to have established himself on that back end pretty well right now.
Yeah, I still think they're going to mess around with Pieamps here and there. And they're keeping the seat warm until Devin Williams is ready to return. So it's a Mr. right now, and there's value in that. You're hoping you get the good version of AJ Minter for 2 months.
Yeah, that'd be a pretty valuable thing right there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk a few hitters before we jump out of here. But first, a note from our sponsors at Home Run Forecast. Can certain weather conditions lead to more home runs? The atmosphere can affect how far a baseball flies by 20%. Home Run Forecast measures the weather conditions at a ballpark to tell us if the atmosphere is good or bad for ball flight during a game. An index value that rates the air is created for each game and ballpark and is displayed on a scale from 1 to 10. Home Run Forecast premium site offers index values by the hour for each game, 24-hour forecast, wind direction, and speed, and even whether the roof will be open at certain stadiums. Home Run Forecast is offering a special for the start of the baseball season. You get access to the premium site for an entire season for only $28, a savings of nearly 30%. Go to homerunforecast.com/RotoWire now to sign up. So, Jeff, we mentioned Kyle Manzardo in Cleveland. sounds like he's getting the call. Sounds like all the sources say he's getting the call. It is official, but when Kwan goes on the L, he's going to get called up. Wasn't available in many NFBC leagues you mentioned before if he got drafted and dropped. How much do you like Manzardo overall coming up here? He had 9 home runs. He's hitting 300 in AAA. You're more of a prospect guy than I am. How big of a deal is this of his coming up? And how big is, like, if he has a couple home runs this week, like how bit of bidding are we talking about next week?
I'll look forward to finishing second place on him too.
Like, is he going to stick, or is he going back down when Kwan comes back? Because Kwan didn't sound really positive about his hamstring injury. There was a quote about him, like, I had a hamstring injury when I was in college, and it's never great with me. I don't want to mess with it. So, like, I don't think he's going to be super quick, but right. How are we talking about Manzardo sticking for a while? And I know he's a big prospect for them.
I think it's the general cop-out answer. If he hits well, he sticks.
Yeah.
And I think, we'll see. I mean, let's look at the Guardians' schedule here for these next 2 weeks. This is a team, by the way, that's been hitting awfully well, but they get Detroit at the White Sox. Pretty good week. 7-game week too, by the way. And, we got to talk about that. There's a lot of fivers this week. So, nice to have a 7-game week. At Texas, and who knows what's going to be left in there, who's going to be in their rotation by then, but we'll see. And then 3-game series home against Minnesota. So 13 games in 14 days for the Guardians. That's good.
Nice.
Yeah. I think mostly right-handers. There's the Garrett Crochet is hanging there. By the way, Crochet was available in one of my 12s. I got outbid on him.
Oh, I would have liked that one. He had a couple blow-ups, but I still think he looks really good.
Looked great today. Yeah. Despite getting hit by a comebacker at one point in time. And of those 13 games, they face 12 righties. They're projected to face right now. So, obviously that can change, but man, that you can't ask for a better starting point there for Manzardo. If he were available, I would have gone aggressively after him. Alas, he was not available in my leagues. Either not eligible or not available, one of the two.
And I know that obviously Josh Naylor's the first baseman there, but that DH spot's pretty wide open in Cleveland. Yeah,
and Naylor will DH some of that time too.
Yeah, but either way, like it's not like they have a set guy like an Eloy Jimenez at DH or someone like that's set in there. Like the DH spot's pretty wide open.
Yep.
Good point on the 5 gamers, by the way. Boston, Baltimore, Toronto, Atlanta, and Washington have 5 games this week. That is it looks like they all have 2 gamers on gamers on the front half. So they have only 2 games out of 4 days this week, and then they all have 3 gamers next week. But those are only 2 games this week for those 5 teams in the first half of the week. So that's a pretty big deal. Make sure you have some coverage on there, especially on the more fringy guys.
Absolutely.
So Manzardo, after him, there was some big rookies get called up this week. We had a little bit of a mini FAAB-palooza this week with Christian Scott, and then a couple of these hitters. Tyler Black in Milwaukee got called up. A lot of stolen bases, hitting 3rd and 4th in their lineup this week, so they kind of slotted him right in there. Joey Loperfido in Houston was called up also. Jordan Beck in Colorado. How'd you kind of rank these rookies? Were you aggressive with any of them? How'd you kind of feel about these dudes?
I ranked them Loperfido, Beck, then Black.
Wow, I was almost complete opposite.
Yeah, well, a lot of that was need. I need power.
Yeah.
We didn't get Loperfido, by the way. We bid 57 and lost. He had 13 homers in AAA. I understand he might sit against a lot of lefties, but I think it was kind of unusual the number of lefties that Houston faced this week. I think Loperfido is going to play a lot, and I think the fact that he didn't play, hasn't done much yet, hasn't played every day, got us a possible discount. Black.
What did he end up going for?
Let's see.
He was while you're looking, he was 124 and 148 in mine. I thought he'd be in kind of the 70s, 80s, 90s. I was a little surprised he still went that high.
73 to 57 on ours.
Ooh, that's low.
Yeah, we were the 57. That was disappointing, to say the least. But again, it shows that I'm not knowing the market very well. And that bothers me too. Jordan Beck went for 62 in our league. Tyler Black went for 88. So went Black, Loperfido, Beck. I think Beck has got some job security issues. There's the Rockies eating paste issues. All that applies, but he is a real prospect. They have been playing him a decent amount since the call up. They've got a 6-game homestand this week.
Your league was the 13th lowest successful bid on Loperfido out of 57 ads.
Okay.
His high was 281. He went for over 200 in 5 leagues.
Wow.
He was pretty solidly in kind of the in kind of the 120 to 160 range. A lot of bids are kind of in that middle 100s.
Yeah. I mean, Chas McCormick's hurt. The Astros are in a bad way. They need some infusion of talent.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but I guess if Loperfido struggles, he could get sent down just as quickly, I suppose. They did like the GM mentioned, his strikeouts when they were asked about him like 2 weeks ago. So
he's going to swing and miss a lot, but he's leading the minors in home runs. Like that has to matter too.
It does.
Got real pop. Yeah,
it does.
I really like Tyler Black. I just like the fact that the Brewers have stuck him right in the middle of the lineup. Like that means a lot to me. It's not like they're sticking him at 9. Like they really want him to be part of the lineup. Probably going to sit against some lefties. I do understand that, but someone that had, he had 55 stolen bases last year, but it was not completely empty. He had 18 home runs in across was that AA and AAA last year, so a little bit of pop. Mm-hmm. Hit for a nice average. Doesn't strike out. He had a 13% strike rate in AAA last year. 14% this year, walks a little bit. You like that with a guy who steals. I thought he was mildly exciting. I know the first week hasn't been great. He struck out a bunch, but we're talking about 16 plate appearances. I just think they stuck him in the middle of the lineup. I think that they want to give him a little bit of run and see what happens here. Christian Yelich doesn't sound especially close, so there's spots in the lineup here. I like Tyler Black, and more than anything, I needed a third baseman like badly for like the last 3 weeks, and he was the first. He was the first one that's mildly interesting for a while. I'm picking up like Abraham Toro and Josh Smith and just kind of middling guys. And the chance to get a third baseman was pretty big to me. I know he's playing first base right now for the Brewers, but third base eligible in NFBC. We'll get that first base eligibility pretty quick here. I just think that he's got some room to run here to play a little bit.
He does. And run is kind of a key word here too. He's a third baseman that steals bases. So if you need bags, that's very handy. Yeah. We don't need bags in the main. That's the one thing we're good on. But I was more concerned that maybe there was not that much power there, and that it might not translate at the big league level. That's the one thing that's kind of holding me back a little bit, but maybe not justifiably so. I mean, I look at his ISOs, we're in the 200s. That's okay. Maybe I could be a little off on this one here, but we'll see. I wasn't not in on him, but I just didn't prioritize him.
Yeah. I got him. I got him for 123 in one, and then was outbid in the other league. But when I need a third baseman, I definitely bumped him up. That was a good comment from Adam in the chat talking about the market seems like it's going to need a loan before long. I think this week we saw a lot of FAAB because there haven't been a lot of big name guys before. Yeah. There's coming into this week, FAAB spending had actually been much lower than it was last year. We had a lot of pitchers that came up last year with the Bryce Miller, and I forget all the names, but Yuri Perez was a big
Bobby Miller.
Last year too. Yep. Bobby Miller. There were a lot of pitchers last year. Tanner Bybee was another one too. There's a topical reference. Good one there.
Thank you.
Yeah, some in the chat mentioned Brett Harris has similar stats to Tyler Black, except that Brett Harris does not have a 55 stolen base year. He had like 10 last year. So I wouldn't compare the two. Brett Harris probably get a little bit of run with the A's, but I thought he was a little middling, but I just like Black speed more than anything. I thought that was you get that kind of stolen bases upside, and I just liked what I got there. Did you do anything with Jordan back in Colorado, or do you just kind of feel like the Rockies are untrustworthy and who knows who the hell they play, which is kind of where I landed with him?
I mean, they are that. He was in Waterfalls, and I don't think I've gotten Beck anywhere yet. I'm a loser, baby, when it comes to getting Jordan Beck.
That one I understood. I got that reference. But he was really good last year. He was 25 home runs, 20 stolen bases. It was really good this year so far in AAA. So I just never know what the Rockies are going to do. He hasn't done much yet, but he's only played 5 games. I guess 6 games after today. It seems like they're playing him every day, but I just know how that goes with the Rockies, and I don't know, this lineup is just blah.
Yeah,
I get it's Coors Field, but still blah. He had a lot of swing and miss, which worries me because you get to the majors, and that swing and miss is just going to get ramped up a little bit. So I was a little concerned that he might strike out a bunch too.
It's a fair concern. It absolutely is. I still remember bidding a lot on Brendan Rodgers, by the way, the initial Fabapalooza. Still waiting for that first major league stolen base from Brendan Rodgers.
It's an amazing stat. I was going to use it if you hadn't. It's amazing to me that he's never stolen a base in the majors. In 1,396 plate appearances, no stolen bases.
He's managed to get worse over time, too. 604 OPS going into today. I don't know what he did today, but...
Yeah, he was 2 for 4 today with a double, so that went up a little bit, but still. He's
good for him.
He's 27 now. It's not happening. Too bad because it's mostly just got so many injuries.
Yeah, he did get wrecked by injuries. He's a different player now. That is unfortunate. He's never even attempted a stolen base, Scott. That's a middle infielder that hasn't attempted a stolen base.
You think it's something like Eloy had an attempted stolen. Eloy had a stolen base this year. Like, how do you not attempt one at some point?
Yeah, as a middle infielder too. It's not like he's a catcher. He needs to do a reverse Biggio in his career and move to catcher.
I like that. You should pitch that to the Rockies. They probably open to
it. They might listen to that. Who knows?
Speaking of Uber prospects that did not really work the first couple times up, Vidal Brujan, the former big Rays prospect, is up with the Marlins and was playing a bunch, and then they traded Luis Arraez. Now he's playing every day at second. I was mildly interested here. We've got a history of a lot of stolen bases and a little bit of pop with Brujan. I don't know. He was playing every day, maybe some old prospect pedigree kind of stuff. But I was in on Brujan and some small bids in the teens, that sort of thing. But I think it's mildly interesting. He says he's playing every day and he's playing every day at second for the Marlins.
Yeah, I had a similar kind of acknowledgement that he might have some value. The fact is he'll probably qualify at multiple positions too. I think he's like at 7 and 8 at 2 or 3 different positions. So he might be second, third, short eligible. Tim Anderson's hurt right now too. Opportunities abound.
In case you're wondering, by the way, Tim Anderson's still really bad.
Yes, he is. Perfect pickup for that franchise.
People are like, oh, he's going to figure it out this year, and last year's a fluke. He is still legit bad. He is, and he's striking out a ton. He's at a 31.5% strikeout rate with no home runs this year. That is, and a 1.4% barrel rate. He's so bad, so fast.
Yeah, it's just amazing how quickly his skills atrophied. And I guess that's kind of the point, though, too, is he has, he was relying on his athleticism to carry the day because he was never had the greatest approach at the plate. You look at all those years of the White Sox, and he was a batting average positive threat for a long time, but he never was a guy that drew a ton of walks, worked the count. He's gotten figured out, and he can't, or maybe he can't adjust like he did in the past, and just tough.
17% swing strike rate is not good.
Nope. Whatever the opposite of sassy is, that's that.
A few other names here on offense. Anything we did with the Cleveland guys with Kwan going out, like Esteven, Florial, Will Brennan. We talked about Dylan Moore last week, eligible at second, short, and outfield. I added him in one spot. He's playing a bunch. He's leading off against lefties for Seattle. So there's some mild interest there for me with Dylan Moore. You mentioned JJ Bleday earlier, talking about the A's. He's playing every day, had a couple home runs over the weekend. John Singleton's playing a lot for Houston.
We actually added him in the main.
I kind of like that. He's looked good. He had a home run. I think it was yesterday, 2-run homer. Abreu is has pretty much been shipped out and trying to figure stuff out, but he looked totally lost. But I like that one too. Tyler Nevin in Oakland has he got a 3-home run week, I think, playing every day for the A's. I kind of put all these guys in the same bucket. Was there anybody that really stuck out to you as someone you wanted to get?
I just titled this section on our outline "Grab Bag." This is what these guys are. They're one of these guys is going to pan out probably.
Yeah. You're looking for playing time and a little bit of skills. I look at Dylan Moore. I'm like, oh, he can run. He's playing every day with JP Crawford out. So that's kind of where I put him. But yeah, I think that you're right. Someone here is going to stick, right?
Yeah. And the whole point is keep churning the bottom part of your roster there. And maybe you'll be you'll get the guy that does stick, or maybe you had some insight on Perez that you bought that 2-homer game. Think that it's for real. Dylan Moore was like a league gainer a couple of years ago. Remember, he was
big in leagues a couple of years ago.
Yeah, all those stolen bases. Maybe it's him. Maybe it's Bleday, who was a former first-round pick. Who knows? Yep. You can squint and see an upside for a lot of these guys.
The Singleton story is wild, just because he's the guy that signed the deal through the extension through his arbitration years, and then kind of flamed out, and now he's back. And he's
emphasis on flamed. Yeah,
that's true.
I mean, because he smoked people. Let's make sure I'm clear about that. Anyways,
he did. He was. I remember him when he got called up to. We were all very excited and hit 168 and 362 plate appearances. It was like, it went away pretty quick. But he's got legit pop. He's at his 3rd home run today. I think it's one, like you said, kind of grab baggy, and someone's gonna get hot. And we see a lot of guys get cold, and guys get hot for a month. It works the same way on the flip side too.
Absolutely.
Anybody else on offense? Did you add any Alec Thomas? Alec Thomas should be back for the D-backs this week, it sounds like. I wonder what they do in their outfield, because Corbin Carroll's awful, but obviously he's going to play. Jake McCarthy had 3 hits today. Do you think? I assume they kind of just rotate them all around and see what happens.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's probably what really happens there.
How I know we've talked about, but Corbin Carroll's hitting 8th right now. He was a first-round pick a month ago.
I mean, I have no other answers than I've had before. Either you think it's a shoulder or you don't, and if you don't, well, that's fine. You're free to think that way, and you might be right. I don't know.
He's hitting nothing hard.
Yeah,
it's really rough. He's got one. I mean, he was 25-54 last year. He's got 1 home run and he's hitting 194. Like, I guess he had 2 hits today, so he's over 200 now. But it's
and yet they're scoring a lot of runs though. Is the funny thing.
Yeah, it's just they moved him down to 8th, and all of a sudden they started scoring runs because they got him out of the way. It is a wild drop, though.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
It just feels like at some point we're going to hear about it's been bugging him for 3 months, and he's going to get on the IL. You kind of feel it's coming.
Yeah, you do. I'm looking to see what Arizona's doing offensively to confirm it. Yeah, they're 6th highest in baseball in runs scored per game at 5.0 per game. They're allowing 4.8, so that's why they're 15-20. They're not, they've won a lot of blowouts and lost a lot of close ones, basically.
Yeah, that's a good point. They just they've scored a lot of runs, but one more guy I want to ask you about before we jump out of here. Since we're talking about stars who are struggling, there was a lot of talk in the offseason about Pete Alonso and he just hit 217 because the BABIP was low. He'll be fine. He still went 46, 118. Well, we're through a month, 144 plate appearances. Pete Alonso is hitting 206 right now. He's got a strikeout rate's actually down a little bit. Walk rate's about the same. Pete Alonso's hard hit rate is under 30% at the moment. He does have a pretty good barrel rate, so when he does get it, he gets it. But I mean, he's not hitting a lot of balls hard. 8 home runs, 16 RBI. Are you worried in the situation here that there's something up and it's not working?
I'm angry, Scott, because Lindor, Alonso turn, Gunnar Henderson goes at 3.2. Yeah, I'm not upset about that at all. Why would I be upset about something middling like that? No. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough seeing that. Some of this could be maybe weather related, and he's going to heat up when the weather heats up, but
which I would be totally fine and feel good with, except that last year he was like the whole year. But
the thing is, he still hit only like 45. What did he hit?
Yeah, 46, 118.
Yeah. Despite not hitting for our average last year. And remember, he had the injury and came back very quickly from that. Yep. And a lot of his batting average struggles are attributed to that. You're always going to get batting average is always going to be a problem with Pete Alonso. I think we know that. But
in 2021 and 2022, it wasn't. Like that was the big thing was him not only hit home runs, but he hit 265, which was huge.
Yeah, well, Kyle Schwarber once hit 265 too, and that was neat.
How long ago was that?
I'm just making that up. It may not be true even, but it sounded pretty good at one point in time.
I bet you he did at some point. Let's see. He hit 266 in 2021. There you go. You were right.
There you go. So yeah. Batting average is always going to be a problem for someone like Alonso, though. He strikes out a ton, and
but he really doesn't in today's majors. He's he was 22% last year, 20% this year, 18% the year before. Like that doesn't seem to be it either.
Well, maybe
he's just BABIP's low. He's so slow. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Maybe he's sacrificing the swing a little bit just because he doesn't want to strike out. I don't know, dude.
You could be right because the swing strike rate's down, but the hard hit rate, like under 30%, it's really weird through a month. I think he'll be fine. I think the home runs will come. I think we're looking at a month slump, but I admit that I'm a little bit worried just based on how last year went.
Fair. I'm still at the not doing anything on my teams, and I'm not trading for or away.
I still think he'll be fine. I think the power will be there, but I would like to see it. Come around pretty quicker because he looked pretty lost today, especially.
Yeah.
Only because you mentioned him. You mentioned Gunnar Henderson. Dude's been a stud. 10 home runs, 6 stolen bases, hitting 280, 55% hard hit rate, 13.5% barrel rate. It appears that superstar status is maybe just here for Gunnar already.
I am going to need dental work because of the teeth gnashing that I'm doing every time I see him start the week with a home run on Monday. It's so just. Were
you back and forth that pick between him and Lindor? Like, or you just was it a consideration? You went down to the wire with it, or
I don't recall. Yeah. He was consideration for sure, but I've always had Lindor ranked over Henderson. So I just went with the rank. I could have gone both for that matter. Henderson has that sweet third base eligibility this year too.
Yeah.
It's not frustrating at all. I don't know why you asked that.
I think Lindor's coming around though. He's got
He is.
five homers and 4 steals now. It was really, really rough those first 3 weeks. I think last couple weeks we've seen mostly normal Francisco Lindor.
If one of the two were fine so far, I wouldn't be upset about it. The fact that both Lindor and Alonso are slumping so far. I know Lindor had that homer today. That was nice. Need more of those. That would be nice. But yeah.
You need the Mets to go play somewhere warm and with a lot of carry for a while, just for a couple weeks, and get everybody going at once.
Yeah, let's go Mets.
Yeah, cool. Jeff, anything else you want to talk about? Anything else that's on your mind? I feel like we covered a bunch of stuff here. Anything else that you want to discuss? Well, I got you here.
No, I think I'm good. There's always great stories in baseball. The Twins win streak is over, but that was a hell of a ride for them.
That was fun. It was funny because we talked about it last week, and they didn't lose again until today.
Yeah. I would talk about a player that's doing well for me, but then that would send him spiraling. So let's leave it off the table. No, just kidding.
Walker Buehler making his comeback tomorrow night.
We're gonna go watch it together.
Yeah,
looking forward to that. That we can talk about. Yeah, looking forward to that.
Fun. Yeah, season debut coming off. What did he pitch like 2 innings last year in a game? Is that what he did?
Something like that. I don't know.
No, he didn't.
He just did it in the minors. He did that in the minors. That's what it was. But yeah, we're going with Vlad Sedler. We're going with Jeff Biddle. Really looking forward to that. Should be a lot of fun. Thanks to Jeff for having us in advance.
It's your first game of the year?
It is. It is. They had massive attendance this weekend. A big homestand against the Braves.
Boy, they just kicked the Braves' butt too.
Yeah, they did, up and down. Yeah, that was I did bench Bryce Elder in all my NFBC leagues where I got him, but I'll probably roll with him this week. I just got to remember it was the Dodgers that did that to him, and hopefully he's not too shell shocked.
Yeah, I remember like 2 weeks ago we were talking about how people were a little bit worried about the Dodgers and they're scuffling a little bit. I think that's fully gone away now.
Yeah,
they're leading the world in like every offensive category now, just like that.
You got to play Operation Avoid the Dodgers home and away, and avoid the Phillies in Philly too now. I think it's right up on that list now, just as high as Fenway.
The Dodgers are hitting 14 points higher batting average than any other team in the majors.
Yeah, is that good?
Their OBP is 22 points higher than any other team in the majors. Their slugging is tied for first with the Orioles, and their OPS is as a team is 44 points higher than the second best team. Like that is dominant across the board to be that not only number one, but that much better than the second best team.
It's pretty crazy. Crazy indeed. And
I know they've played more games, and that's what impacts the runs, but those are all rate stats I gave you. So that it's just there.
273 team batting average going into today. I mean, that's nuts. That's just crazy.
Your top 4 guys like all hit 350. That tends to make a difference.
And they haven't even had Freddie Freeman hitting for power yet.
Yeah.
There's another level possible still.
Betts is at 352, and Shohei's at 364. And I think Will Smith is up there somewhere too. Also, it's just they're good. They're fun. It should be fun. I think we're seeing Roddery Munoz, kind of an interesting arm for the Marlins, is actually starting. There was some talks that was going to be Braxton Garrett, but it looks like Munoz is going to make one more start.
Yeah. Who throws more pitches, him or Buehler?
Oh, that's a really good bet. I'm going to go with Munoz more pitches.
Okay. I didn't say last longer. I said more pitches. So just for the
I'm going to go Munoz. Yeah, you did. I heard that. I'm going to go Munoz more pitches. Yeah. That could be 2 1/3 more pitches, but that's all right. Anyway, want to thank Prize Picks for the sponsorship of the podcast. We do really appreciate them for that. Again, that code with Prize Picks is ROTOPOD, ROTOPOD. If you want to follow Jeff on Twitter, it's at Jeff Erickson. I am at Scott Jenstad. Always talking sports on there. So if you have any questions, definitely hit us up there. Other than that, hope everybody has a really good week. Hope your teams do better this week, Jeff. Hopefully we're talking about a nice bounce back up the standings, and we'll talk to everybody next Sunday night. Take care.